Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you back. Anybody new, welcome to our Hazak program. We enjoy you being part of it. And I first like to recognize today as being a day of celebration, but with cautious optimism for the future. So a nice day to meet together. I have a number of announcements to make, but in case more people come, I'm going to wait to do those. So this morning, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, who is Dr. Loraine Lundquist, and she's a speaker with the League of Women Voters, as well as a former Neighborhood Council member of Northridge East Neighborhood Council. For her day job, she teaches the MA Sustainability program at CSUN. She received her PhD from UC Berkeley and lives in Northridge with her husband and 3 children. So I welcome Loraine to give us some information on this upcoming proposition. Loraine?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the introduction, Sharon. I'm excited to be here, and I do also want to acknowledge this as a day of celebration. Thank you for that. So as you heard, I'm speaking today on behalf of the League of Women Voters. I'm going to be talking to you about the election that's coming up. You should have already gotten your ballot in the mail if you are a registered voter, and you need to return that ballot by November 4th. Or else drop it off in a ballot drop box, or else go and vote in person. And there's only one thing on the ballot, which is Proposition 50. So I will be speaking today about Proposition 50, and I want to let you know that the League of Women Voters is a nonprofit organization. We are here to provide voter and civic education. I am speaking particularly today from the educational arm of the League of Women Voters. So we never take a position with any party one way or another. The League also never endorses candidates one way or the other. The advocacy arm of the League of Women Voters sometimes takes positions on propositions, but as I mentioned, I'm here from the educational arm of the League of Women Voters. So usually when I do these talks, I often give talks explaining all the ballot propositions that are on the ballot. And usually when I give those talks through the educational arm, I'm not allowed to even say whether the League of Women Voters has taken a position on a proposition or not. Today I will tell you and have been authorized to say that the League of Women Voters has not taken a position on this proposition. And it's just important to note that because there have been some mailers perhaps that you've received that may have implied otherwise. So I would like you to know that the League of Women Voters hasn't taken a position on this proposition. But in any case, I'm just here to provide educational information to let you know what it is that folks are voting on. And I understand from my friend Sam that many of you have voted perhaps already, but you still may want to know a little bit about, how what we're doing now is different from what would happen if this ballot proposition gets passed, and how it would be different from what's been done in the past and what will happen moving forward. So with that, I'll give you a little bit of background. So up until 2008 in California, in order to decide where the lines for districts, congressional districts, are drawn, the legislature would make those decisions. They would draw the map to figure out where all of the congressional districts would be placed in the state of California. And that is the way that it is done in most states across the country right now. In most states, the legislature draws the map to decide which voters will be voting in which districts. And quite, just frankly, straightforwardly, that is usually gerrymandered. The word gerrymander means that it is, manipulated such that, voters are placed in certain districts in order to try to attempt to achieve certain outcomes in the elections. So that's the way it is in most states right now. It's the way it was in 2008 in California until 2008. And then we passed a ballot proposition that created an independent commission that would draw those lines. And when the census was done in 2010, this independent commission was established. It is made up of 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and 4 people who are unaffiliated with either party. It is chosen in a rigorous process that doesn't involve any politicians or elected leaders. People apply, individuals apply to the redistricting commission. Everybody in this room could apply to the redistricting commission if they wanted to be on the redistricting commission to decide where to draw those lines. And the folks who are chosen go through a rigorous screening process. They are chosen for specific skills, as well as for geographic location, geographic diversity, and other forms of diversity to make sure that the commission is made up of a group of individuals who have different interests, who are completely balanced in terms of the political parties. So that's how our congressional districts were drawn after the census in 2010, and then again after the census in 2020. Now we do census collection information every 10 years. So that's when the districts are drawn, is after the census is done, in most cases, and in most states. It's very unusual to have new drawing of lines in between censuses, but we are seeing that happen in some states right now, and that is what we are considering doing here with Prop 50. So let me tell you what the Prop 50 actually is. It's entitled the Election Rigging Response Act. And this is text from the ballot measure itself, right? The text in the ballot measure says that it would authorize temporary changes to congressional district maps in response to Texas's partisan redistricting. Again, that's language from the ballot measure itself. It would be a legislative constitutional amendment. So when we created this independent redistricting commission, we did it by changing the constitution of the state of California. This measure would, again, change the constitution to say that instead of using the map that was created by the independent redistricting commission, we would use a different map that's been created by the legislature and the governor. And so a yes vote means that we would use this new method for drawing maps only for a temporary time, only from 2026 until 2030, when the next census is done. When the next census is done, we would go back to having the same independent redistricting commission process that we've had in the past, and they would draw new lines after the 2030 census based on that census data. So a yes vote means, yes, we're going to use a new method for drawing those maps for the congressional districts. A no vote means, no, let's keep the current maps and the current congressional districts that were drawn by the California Citizens Redistricting Commission. So any questions about what Prop 50 actually does? Yes? Yes, so there was language in this proposition that said it would only go into effect if Texas's congressional redistricting went into effect. So that is, it has gone into effect, but it is in court right now. So if that gets overturned, then things would be different and we would go back to the old maps. But the yes vote means that if the Texas redistricting goes forward, and you notice it's directly in the ballot measure text that it's in response to Texas's redistricting, which was requested by the President of the United States, and the governor and the state legislature of the state of Texas decided to redraw their congressional maps. And so California is proposing this ballot proposition in response to that. Does that make sense? Okay, I think I will take some more questions at the end and make sure we get through the main part of the presentation, because some of your questions might be answered as we move forward. So it's always good to look at the fiscal effects, the cost to taxpayers if Proposition 50 passes. So all of the counties that do elections will need to update their election materials to reflect the new congressional district maps. This would be a one-time cost to counties to update their maps, and it would cost up to a few $1,000,000. And then there's also a one-time cost to the state with respect to updating its maps and the work that is involved in that, and that's $200,000. These numbers do not include the cost of holding the 2025 special election, and that's partly because this special election is happening whether this proposition passes or not. So we are spending extra money to have this election, but that's already been decided. So if the Prop 50 were to pass, these would be the fiscal effects of Prop 50. So I'm going to present some arguments from supporters and opponents of Prop 50 as published in the official voter information guide. Again, these are the arguments that are put forward by individuals who have been chosen to represent the positive side and the negative side for Prop 50. They're not opinions from League of Women Voters, and we do not vouch for their accuracy, or they don't represent the League of Women Voters' point of view. They're opinions that are presented by the pro and con side. Sometimes, they even contain factual errors and things like that, but we are presenting them as written in the ballot guide. So, Prop 50 supporters are listed on the right here. These are the supporters that are officially listed in the voter ballot guide. I'm not going to read through them, but you see some of the individuals that are supporting this, and these are what the official pro arguments that have been put forward by the pro side. So supporters say that this is a temporary emergency plan to stop attempts to unfairly rig the 2026 election. And again, that's referring to the redistricting that's being done in the state of Texas. However, in California, unlike in other states that are choosing to redistrict at this time, it will be the voters that will decide whether or not to adopt these new maps or not. Through your vote on Prop 50, you'll be deciding whether to adopt the new maps or not, rather than having the state legislature make the decision. Supporters also say that this would keep California as a leader in protecting national democracy. And supporters say that this strengthens democracy by making sure that Republicans don't have an unfair advantage in Congress. So next we'll present the opposition. Again, this is from the official ballot guide. So the opposition leaders are listed over here on the right. I won't read through them, but you can see some names that you might recognize. So opponents say that this is a power grab by politicians. They say that this replaces the open public process of the Independent Redistricting Commission, that it hurts fair representation, that it allows politicians to control district lines for years and could open the door to permanent control. And they say that the special election has already cost taxpayers $200 million. We're also going to look at some of the financial contributions that are paying for the mailers and advertisements that you might be seeing that are coming in on the pro side and on the opposition side for this election. So on the yes side, and I should say that these numbers were updated as of about a week ago, but there are new contributions coming in every day, so it's a little bit out of date. But on the yes side, they've raised about $138 million. The folks that are supporting it, the most of the money is actually represented in small dollar contributions. About 80 million of it is from individual donors who are supporting the yes side. But the larger contributions are listed here. You see, for example, some unions, the governor's personal political action committee, etc. On the no side, most of the money comes from those top two donors, the Congressional Leadership Fund, and then an individual, Charles T. Munger, Jr. Is that a fire alarm? Do we need to evacuate or something? Should we stay in place and keep going, or? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to have her keep going. This happened at services, and it's the fire alarm. So until we hear otherwise, how's that? Okay, all right. I'm keeping it right up here. All right, so we're going to continue. Unless we hear otherwise, it's someone accidentally touched the fire alarm. Let's hope it's that and nothing else. Okay.
Okay, but if anyone smells smoke, please let us know. Yes. Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
I understand that there was an additional money added to the ballot because there was an error on the first ballot because the maps were wrong. How much money had to be added for that? Is that true?
That's a great question. I'm not sure how much money had to be added. I did read that, but I don't know. Sorry. Yes. No, so if you say yes to Prop 50, you are saying yes to a specific set of maps. And I actually do, separate from this presentation, I pulled up, for example, the district where VBS is located here. We can look at what the old district looked like compared to what the new district looks like. And I'll also give you a link where you can search yourself, put in your own address and look at how your own district might change. That's right. So if Prop 50 passes, we will be adopting this new set of maps until 2030 when the new census is done. And then at that time, there would be a process just like was done in 2010 and 2020, where there would be this independent redistricting commission that would draw new lines and a new map. What? With the same cost again? Well, the lines are redrawn every census, no matter what. So that cost would not be any different. The main costs that we're facing right now, there is the cost of the election, as you mentioned, and that money's already been spent regardless of how you vote, whether you vote yes or no. And then if Prop 50 passes, there would be the costs that I put up earlier for the counties to create the new ballots for all the congressional elections moving forward based on the new maps. Yes? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. She asked me to repeat the questions. Yes. So the question is, why couldn't the legislature make this decision and save us $1 million? And the answer is because California voters passed in the ballot proposition that created the Independent Redistricting Commission. We amended our Constitution. So in case anyone didn't hear, they said to disregard the fire alarm, so we're all safe. Yes, so our constitution was changed to say that the way that we draw maps is using this independent redistricting commission process. And so in order to make any change to that, the voters have to decide if they want to make a change to that. So the legislature does not have the power to draw new maps on their own. They have to create a new ballot process and a special election, which is what we're having, so that the voters will decide whether we want to adopt these new maps or not. Well, as I mentioned, that most, I'm sorry, repeat the question. Okay. So she's saying it doesn't make sense because that it should cost so much money, that we elect our state legislators, and so they should be able to decide for us. But the law says, no, they can't decide for us, and that's because we, the voters, passed a proposition back in 2008 saying, no, we're not going to let the legislature decide for us. We're going to ask that it go through this independent redistricting process. Okay, yes.
You've mentioned some of the direct costs involved in the election, but what you haven't alluded to is the indirect costs of voting no. If Republicans were maintain control of the Congress, they're going to withhold billions of dollars from California. We've already seen that with the state schools and with the other infrastructure that we saw. I think that should be emphasized.
Does anybody need me to repeat that? Do you want to just say it with the microphone?
Did anybody not hear me?
Okay, it was a comment. All right. All right. Thank you for the comment. Anyone else? Yes. Yes. So she says those of us in California are used to what? Misappropriation of funding? Okay, so I'll try to repeat the question. So what she's saying is that first she said that California voters are used to misappropriation of funds, and then what she said is what she's concerned about is who are the people that are going to end up in Congress and what sort of decisions will they be making on Israel. And so yes, we will have different maps. Which will cause different people to be elected. I can't tell you who's going to be elected or what their positions on Israel would be, and I would encourage you to, do more research on that particular issue. And of course, nobody knows exactly who's going to be elected. But the new maps do create more seats that are likely to be held by Democrats than what we have right now. So that is what the outcome will be. Okay, let me go ahead and finish the slides. I'll take some more questions in a little bit. So I just want to bring up these links. So the California Matters Voter Guide, and these links will be sent out to you. I'll send the presentation to the folks who organized this talk, so they can send it out to you if you want it. But I want to highlight that first link, which shows some of the different ways that the map would change. And I also wanted to bring up just how the district here would change. So this right here, this dot, is Valley Beth Shalom. This is the Cal Matters California Voter Guide for 2025, and in it you can put in your address, and you can see how your personal congressional district would change. So the purple lines with the dark outline is the old district, and then the sorry, it's covered up here, but dotted orange line, it's running very slowly here. The dotted orange line is what the new district would look like. So right now, our district here is represented by Congressmember Brad Sherman. So some places over here in West Hills, for example, would no longer be represented by Congressmember Sherman. They would move to Congressmember Julia Brownlee's district. Congressmember Sherman's district, and of course, you know, who the congressional members run every 2 years, so the election for who represents this district would not be until 2026. So he would for sure represent this district, you know, starting after this ballot measure were passed, if it were passed, but his district would look different. It would look like like you can see with the dotted orange line. So it would pick up Simi Valley, which he doesn't have right now. And then there's parts over here in Northridge and Granada Hills that would also no longer be in Congressmember Sherman's district. So that's just one example. You can put in your own address in this link to see how your district might change. But now I'm ready to take questions. And before I do, can I confirm with Sharon, how long do you want to go? Because there were a number of questions. Okay. Okay. All right. All right.
You mentioned that the law has a trigger mechanism if the Texas redistricting goes into effect. The Texas redistricting has gone into effect at the state level, but is being challenged in courts. And of course, whatever the court decides can be subject to an appeal and so forth. At what point in time does the status of the Texas redistricting govern the California redistricting to the point where it can't be changed after that? And what happens if somehow the Texas redistricting is thrown out or reinstated after the California deadline?
Yes, that's a great question. So I don't have the date available for you, but there is a cutoff deadline where we have to start printing our ballots and move forward with our election, at which time they just take whatever's happening at that point, and the new maps would move forward if Prop 50 was passed. What's that? So it's written, what I'm saying is it's written into the text of the ballot proposition.
The next congressional election is 2026.
Right.
Right here.
And I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to restate the question, so I'm going to try to remember. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Can you
Oh,
hear
you
me?
have- okay, yes.
Can you hear me? I have two questions. The first one is, you can change the districting, but people are still going to vote the way they're going to vote.
Yes, absolutely. Voters will still have the choice to send, you know, whatever person they want to elect in their district, no matter what the district looks like. It's really just about the number of people in each district that are Democrats and Republicans. So for example, in this district that we are in right now, it's considered a blue district, meaning that it has more Democratic voters, more registered Democrats than registered Republicans. Now, people can vote for whomever they want, Democrat or Republican, you know, and of course we have primaries, so you know, there's multiple people running from different parties. And voters can always select whomever they choose to elect. However, you'll see that, for example, this district that was more blue, meaning it had more registered Democrats, because it's going to be picking up Simi Valley, it's going to get a little bit less blue, meaning it will pick up more registered Republicans. Now, it's still, this particular district is still relatively what they call safe Democratic district, and then it's still quite a bit more registered Republicans than registered Democrats. In fact, you can see the percentages there in the current district and the proposed district. So the current district, 50% of registered voters are registered Democrats, and 20% are registered Republicans. In the proposed district, it would be 47% that would be registered Democrats, and 23% that would be registered Republicans. So there's still significantly more registered Democrats than registered Republicans. But what they did was basically other districts that are more red, they're putting some of the blue, some of the registered Democrats into those redder districts in order to make them more likely to elect Democrats.
So it is kind of iffy.
Oh, it's definitely, like I said, voters can always elect whomever they want. And you know, we can't predict exactly who a voter, just because someone's registered in a certain party doesn't mean that we know what party they're going to vote for. But we can all acknowledge that there's definitely a correlation between how people are registered and who they vote for. And so that's what they're looking at. They're looking at, you know, what party people are registered in, and they're trying to take districts that are more red and make them less red, so more likely to elect a Democrat.
Okay, I have another question. So the reason we're doing this, or that the state is doing this, is to prevent future rigging, right?
Prevent future what?
Future rigging of the election.
So it's called the Election Rigging Response Act. Your definition of rigging is up to you. What it is in response to is Texas choosing to redistrict their congressional map in the middle of, in between censuses, right? Not because there's been a new count, but because of political reasons, where they're trying to create more red districts in Texas. And California, the state legislature, their response to that is to create this ballot measure and ask the voters and say to the voters, do you voters want to redraw our maps to make our maps more blue in response to Texas making their map
So isn't
more
that
red?
rigging? Yes. I mean, isn't that rigging?
That's the idea. Okay.
No, I'm not giving a speech. But I want to clarify something so this lovely lady next to me appreciates it, that there will be primaries before the election, right?
Yes,
So in the new districts.
yes.
Yes, so if we want to vote for a Democrat that's pro-Israel, that's what we in the primary, that's how we vote. Okay.
Short and sweet.
She said, I asked for, I heard a question to repeat what she said. She said that there will be primaries in the new districts, which is true. So she said that if people want to elect someone who is pro-Israel, they can vote for a pro-Israel candidate in the primaries. I'm just repeating what she said. Yes,
Thank you very much for doing what you're doing.
yes.
When I read the first ballot, it was very complicated, particularly looking at the maps, and I think there were 3 of them.
Yeah.
And looking at the second ballot after I'd already voted, they were even more complicated, and I like looking at maps. And then I went online to take a look and to see what my district would, what was promoted for my district, and they said, we don't know. We can't tell you at this time whether your district will change from Brad Sherman to whoever, to the other gal. And so it was very complicated just to try and figure that out. And all I can think of is all of this is all about politics. And so
Well, I mean, it's definitely about politics. There's no question that we're voting on something that's definitely about politics. So you have to decide for yourself how you want to vote. The maps, though, there is one map that is correct now, and if you want to look and see how your district would change, I do recommend you go to calmatters.org/california-voter-guide-25, or excuse me, 2025, and you'll see a voter guide that looks like this, and you can just scroll down and get to this map where you can put in an address. So whatever address you're interested in, if you're interested to see how your district will change, this is how it will change.
So it's most unfortunate that this happened and we didn't start it. And my question is, did this give initiative to other places now to do the same thing, other states? It's going to be the same. It's going to have a cascading effect, if that's the word. So, yeah, and are you in touch with that? Do you keep in touch with that as well? Because I know that's going to happen, and it's most unfortunate, but I do believe in fighting fire with fire. That's my own.
So there are other states that are redistricting, and gerrymandering, I think, is the appropriate verb, that are choosing to, gerrymander on both sides as a result of the things that have happened, not only in Texas, but, also in California and other states. Yeah, I mean, so some, honestly, the states that are most likely to engage in redistricting are the ones that have a legislature and a governor that are all controlled by one party, right? That is, it's a limited number of states, but there are a number of states that are moving forward with that. Yes?
Just a second. Hold it.
Hang on.
It seems to me much of this issue is basically what we're coming to. It's a political decision versus moral values. So I wondered if the league has had any discussion about that, because it is really a moral conflict in this sense.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, in our educational wing, we're not allowed to talk about the positions that the League of Women Voters has taken. I encourage you to go to the League of Women Voters website, where there is a statement about why they haven't taken a position on this.
Comments or questions? Up, back.
Just out of curiosity, if you can get a show of hands of those who have already voted on this proposition.
Okay. All right, so
We regret what we did.
our next speaker is here if we want to just move on.
I think, this is Joel, I think nobody knows what's going to happen, right, as you said, but it just seems that this is a rat race, it's just, and, other states can do things, and it just sort of changes the whole national political arena from popular vote to legislative redistricting vote,
Well,
predictions of what people will vote.
Yes. I just want to mention again that almost every state other than California does do districting via state legislature. And so we, since 2008, have been doing districting by independent commission. This, as you're saying, is in response to Texas choosing to do, even more strong gerrymandering in the middle of a census season. All right, thank you.